Okay, now that you've illuminated the amount of stress I have in my life from homework, but then there's all the other stuff. Being an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur, you're overwhelmed, aren't you? You have so much to do. You're taking care of the household, you're helping the kids with the homework, you're running errands, making dinner, and still sneaking time onto the computer so you can maybe place orders, update your website, send out a newsletter. It's non-stop. I have to force myself to turn my computer off at night because it's just endless. It's endless.
I'm starting to feel a little OCI.
Yes, okay.
OCI, what is OCI? Overwhelmed, confused, and what does it lead to, Mary Goulet?
Irritation. I just skipped the first two and I'm in a constant state of irritation. It seems.
Well, that happens because we're busy doing everything. I mean, right now we're doing cookies just because it's going to kind of relieves the
sugar
or flour flying everywhere. It relieves the stress. I think sometimes baking and cooking for me is kind of yes, it makes me feel better. So that's why I like to cook and I like to bake and all that kind of stuff. But
are you going to share today?
Maybe. Are you going to be good?
We'll tackle you. She didn't share her meal that she made for her family yesterday. So anyway, in our book, It's All About You, Live the Life You Crave, we actually talk about OCI syndrome, overwhelmed, confused, and irritated. And it's interesting because every single day we're faced with stressors.
We are.
So how do we alleviate them? And also, our children are under way more stress than we were when we were growing up.
Yes.
I mean, they have so much stimulation. I don't even let my kids go on social media sites yet. It's just too much.
It's just too much. And I think because we talk about how much is coming at us constantly and how many messages. Speaking of messages, we really like for you to go to momstown.com and be sure to sign up for our newsletter. And this show, we were cooking here and we're doing work and we're talking about kids because this is kind of the modern home economics show we were talking about, and talking about all of the business of making money from home and then all the other things that go along with it. But going back to the messages that our kids are bombarded with, it's constant. At home, we have to be really cognizant, I think, as moms of overscheduling. Because there's sports and music and all these other things that we want our kids to have an opportunity to participate in, but at the same time, they're too young to say no.
Right.
We're not.
Well, and you know, I have Sterling and Portia.
You're not too young to say no.
No. Do you see the gray hair and the wrinkle? Oh, please. So Sterling and Portia take music lessons on Wednesday.
Right.
So Sterling, this is how they react to the stress. Sterling will tutor with her teacher for half an hour on every Wednesday, then come home and start her homework, and then she has a half-hour music lesson. Well, here's the glitch for me. She gets really upset, oh, I don't want to do the music lesson, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. But then, when she sits down, she gets so much positive feedback from her teacher, and she's doing well. So then she feels better afterward, but maybe she's too young to go forward beyond the music lesson. Do you know what I mean? So she's all that pressure building up to the lesson, but she feels better afterward.
Because you're saying that it's a self-esteem booster for her to do the music. So that's a good thing for her, and it's a good thing to have those skills, because the more skills we have, the more confident we feel. But at the same time, when is it too much? And that's when because that's why I go back to the homework. Is homework really necessary? Can we cut out the things that aren't necessarily necessary? Aren't necessarily necessary.
I gotta think about that. What did she just say? Anyway, yeah, so I think it's also reframing for the kids, even if a music class is work, but how good she feels afterward. And also
does she enjoy it?
She does. When she's doing it, she enjoys it, but not leading up to it, if that makes sense.
No, and I think that actually comes with maturity and getting older, and when they have a passion and when they know, because, for example, my oldest son now is 13 years old, and they would go to sports because they wanted to sign up for it, make sure that's what they want to do, but then they don't want to go to the practices. You signed up for it, you have to go. The team is counting on you. But then they get to a point where they're doing everything they can to get to that practice because they love it.
Right.
And that's a passion, and he no longer complains. But I think that's because he's getting older.
I wish I could be that way about going to the gym. You know, because I feel better after I work out, but every time I go through that door, I'm like, I'm not gonna like this at all.
Getting there.
Yes.
But you know what's good
So
for
I must
you?
be very immature.
So, talking about getting past, the reason why we're doing the show today and overwhelm and stress is because we get the emails from moms who are feeling the same way, and they're feeling isolated, and they feel like, you might feel like you're alone because you're the only one who's crying over algebra or crying over, you know, the homework or just too much to do in general. And so what we're going to be talking about today is to be a success in business, to be a success at home, and to be the best mom you can be. We're really going to be talking about tips on how to overcome all this overwhelm and stress and get past that OCI.
Yes, and also if you go to Momstown.com, as Heather mentioned, sign up for our newsletter because you'll receive 21 days worth of tips on getting organized. And they're not big organizational projects, they're just little tips that you can just do in our quarter-hour crunch, which is in 15 minutes or less. So,
well, and I think, you know, and we're going to get to a lot of tips in the show, but I think that what you just mentioned is a really great first tip, and to approach things in 15-minute increments, because we call it the quarter-hour crunch. And something that you can do in 15 minutes is clean out a drawer.
Right.
You can
fold some laundry, start the laundry, bring the laundry downstairs, or take it back up. It's just
easy to do,
yes.
and then you can accomplish it, and you feel like you've got something done.
Right. Well, I think that often we have our big to-do list and we have chores. We look at the kitchen sink and it's a mess, that we become frozen in the chaos. And that's another thing. We read our own book because there's a lot of good stuff in it that we have to remind ourselves of. Remember,
it's not just a shameless plug.
No, it's
a good really
book.
good.
Yeah, well, Frozen in Chaos is when you are so OCI that you can't even do something. You're just like, I don't even know where to begin. So 15 minutes, okay, just look around your house. What do I want to accomplish in 15 minutes? Maybe it's just doing the breakfast dishes, or maybe it's making a grocery list. It could be just bite size, teeny, tiny,
bite-sized things
tiny.
that you can actually get done.
Actually, yes,
and
absolutely.
then feel like you have accomplished something. So I think I just heard the doorbell.
Oh, good. Our guest is here.
Yes, our guest
Very
Myra
good.
is joining us, and she's a therapist. So be very careful of what you say.
Oh, she's gonna run me over.
All right,
I
so
know.
I'm gonna put you to work because I need you to crack some eggs, because you're not just gonna sit here and chit chat. You're gonna actually, if you want cookies to take home,
Okay. That I will
you
do.
are going to help. Okay, so you can cream
I'll
that.
do
I'm gonna
this.
get the eggs
Okay.
out of the fridge.
Yummy.